So if you're trying to install one of these shut-off valves, or otherwise known as ball valves, and it keeps on leaking, even if you used plumber's tape or PTFE tape on the joint, in this video I'm going to show you how to fix it, and luckily it is super cheap, easy and really quick to fix. So if you used plumber's tape like I'm doing here, and you put a number of turns around the threads on the fitting, because, well, let's face it, you've probably seen this in many other videos, and just for good measure you decide to put on a little bit more tape, and then you grab your valve, you turn it on and you tighten it up, and of course you also connect up whatever sink or wash hand basin the water is going to be fed to. And then you stand back and you actually think to yourself, man, this looks like a job well done. So you rush off outside, turn the water supply back on, come back inside, and it's leaking. Damn it, man, damn it. And what is happening here is that the water is actually forcing its way between the threads and past the PTFE tape and out of the fitting. Now, sometimes you will be lucky and it doesn't leak, but most times it will eventually leak. And this is because with this type of valve specifically, you've likely forgotten to install one of these small fiber washers. So here's the little fiber washer that I'm referring to, and as you can see, it is quite a small little piece, and thankfully it is pretty cheap. Now imagine going to your local hardware store, buying your valve and forgetting to buy this little washer. It's going to cost you way more in fuel and the inconvenience and the time wasted just to go back to buy one or two of these little things. Now you take this little fiber washer and it's going to go inside the valve. So you can see there's kind of a little bronzy, goldy colored surface or copper colored surface inside the valve. So we're just going to take the little fiber washer and it's going to drop inside of the valve. And when you screw on the Connex fitting, it's going to screw all the way in and bottom out. And it's basically going to squeeze the fiber washer between the Connex fitting and the valve. And that is what's going to create a really good watertight seal. Now, I mostly use these fiber washers, but wherever you buy your valve from, ask them what type of washer they recommend for your specific valve. Maybe it's a fiber washer, maybe it's a rubber washer. They should know what is best in your specific case. So once you've turned off the water supply, once again, remove the fitting and remove the old PTFE tape. You can go ahead and wind some new tape around the threads, but this time remembering to insert the fiber washer into the valve before you screw it on. And in this case, because the valve is upside down, I need to be careful not to let the fiber washer fall out when I'm busy screwing it back into place. Now I'm going to thread on the valve until it bottoms out. Now you should be able to feel this where the valve turns and it kind of comes to a hard stop, and then you're just going to nip it up a little bit more. Just like that. And now it shouldn't leak. So just to clarify a little bit more about what you may have seen in the video, and it is about the PTFE tape or the plumber's tape that you might have seen on the fitting. And let me just unpackage all of these things very quickly and show you what I mean. So let's get rid of that stuff. So in the video, you might have seen that before I installed the little fiber washer, we put it into the valve. And before I screwed the valve onto our fitting, I actually applied more PTFE tape around the threads here. Once again, I'm going to put a little bit of plumber's tape or PTFE tape around here. And we'll just wind it around. And now, strictly speaking, you don't have to do that because let's just get this little fiber washer out, because the seal happens on this outer face, or on this flat face here. So where the fiber washer gets pressed up against the flat face of the fitting and then it gets squeezed into the valve. So when these two things are screwed together, the seal is around this fiber washer. It's not on the threads. So by putting PTFE tape here on the threads, you're not really doing anything, especially if it's not done correctly. However, I will say that you do need to make sure that this female valve, that it threads all the way on and the male section threads all the way in and it bottoms out inside the female section there. So an easy way to check that is you can actually just pop in your fiber washer and you take the valve and you screw it on just like this, and now you can see there is actually still a little gap there, so I could actually turn this on a little bit more. So if you have a look at how much is sticking out over there, if I actually just remove the fiber washer, let's just take that out there, and if I go ahead and I screw this valve back on, you can see it screws on just a little bit further. So that means that the fitting is bottoming out inside the female part of the valve, which means that this fiber washer is going to get squeezed between the end of the fitting and between the end of the valve inside here. So the fiber washer will be the seal. However, if the fitting doesn't bottom out, you can absolutely go ahead and wind some PTFE tape around the female, around the male threads. And you can, of course, use a fiber washer. Maybe you want to stack 2 fiber washers into the female section like that. And you'll see if I stack 2 of them in there, then again it starts bottoming out and there's even more of the fitting sticking out. So you can absolutely do that. You can also use a rubber washer inside here. Well, at least that's according to one of the plumbing guys at our local plumbing store down the road here. However, I'm not a super fan of a rubber washer because we have got a really thin face on this male threaded section here. So if you tighten, or if you put a rubber washer into the female section here and you tighten these 2 things together too tight, you can find that this edge actually cuts into the rubber washer, where that's not likely going to happen with the fiber washers that I've recommended to use. But nevertheless, just check with what your plumbing store recommends relative to the type of valve that you are going to install. So hope that clears things up a little bit. If you like the video so far, please hit the thumbs up button and leave us a comment. Tell us about the tips and tricks that you might have, or how your leak repair has turned out. If you are interested to know, the pliers that I'm using are wrench pliers made by Knipex. And this is not sponsored, I just really love these things. They are really good quality and they work very well for plumbing jobs like this. If you want to check them out or even pick up a pair, I'll leave links in the description and at the top of the comment section. So I've connected the washer and basins pipe and opened up the water, and as you can see, there are no more leaks. Now you also want to look around and feel for any leaks in and around the fitting. So just make sure that your fingers are dry and you kind of feel in and around the fitting, and hopefully you don't see any moisture on your fingers. And then that's a job well done and there are no more leaks. Now sometimes if you have done this and there is a very slight leak, you can try and nip the fitting up just a little bit more. But of course, don't go and over tighten it and strip out the threads.